What's your biggest retirement question? Whatever it is, you'll find answers here. It's time for Ease into Retirement.
It's time once again to ease into retirement with Tom Mosley, founder at Mosley Wealth Management, serving you here in Southern California with 30 plus years of experience in the financial sector and his team of advisors and staff waiting to help you with your complimentary written retirement blueprint. Get started today at 855-526-1600. That's 855-526-1600 and sit down with them at their office in Anaheim, Arcadia, Encino, Ontario, San Diego, and of course online or over Zoom as well at 855-526-1600. Good show lined up this week. We're going to talk a little bit about retirees' first Christmas. Do you get an ornament with that, Tom? Kind of like baby's first Christmas? Do you get one?
Yeah, I don't know. You should maybe, and
right.
Take pictures and everything. So, yeah, it's crazy. But Christmas is here, whether we like it or not. I was thinking the other day, I had a friend that used to say, wow, it's here again. And he said, life's like a roll of toilet paper. It goes around faster, it comes around faster when you get close to the end.
I've been saying that for a long time, yeah.
Oh, I know.
The closer you get to the end, the faster it goes.
Didn't we just get Christmas gifts a couple of weeks ago, it seems,
I don't know, maybe.
and stuff. So here it is again,
Yeah, well, we'll have some fun talking about retirees' first Christmas because it could be a little bit different for people, right? Tom, you've been doing this, like I said a minute ago, 30 plus years. So I'm sure you've seen different reactions to somebody. They retire, they're getting to the first Christmas and they're thinking, hey, does this affect things? Do I feel differently? Do I worry about my budget? Like, should it matter? Does it? So what's some things to think about there?
Well, I think that most people, because they've never retired before and they only do it one time.
Unless you're a football player, right? Yeah.
Yes, unless you're Phillip Rivers. Congratulations, Phillip Rivers, coming back.
Right.
And, I saw and read that if he had stayed retired this year, he would have lost his health care benefits next month. But now they renewed for another 5 years because they cover you for 5 years after you're there. But here's what I see from 30 years of doing this, Mark. People don't understand the emotional impact, everybody thinks about the financial impact. They want to make sure they don't run out of money.
Right.
But they don't calculate the emotional impact and I guess it would say the life impact by having all of that time on your hands. I had one guy say one time he came in and they were spending too much money.
Okay.
And their budget was out of whack. And I said, why do you think that is? And I remember his name was Roger, and he came back and he said, the problem is, he said, we used to work Monday through Friday, and we'd go to Home Depot. I'd go to Home Depot, and my wife would go to Michael's on Saturday. And he said, now every day's Saturday.
Every day's a Saturday,
So we're free. We're free to do what we want to do, go where we want to go, and they'd let it get a little out of bounds. Now, I've also seen the opposite of that when it comes to the budget.
Okay.
Because people are so afraid because they've just got their investments in the stock market and the market goes up and the market goes down. Blessed be the name of the market. And, as the market does that, they're scared in their 60s to spend any money. I've got clients right now who are in Rome and they sent me text this week from Rome at the Vatican.
Nice.
They were there. They were excited about it. And we've got a wall in our office, and we've got across the top, it's got a map of the entire world. And the wall says, the places you will go, like the Dr. Seuss book. And we've got pictures of people at the Taj Mahal, in Sydney, Australia, in Thailand, in all over Europe, and in Moscow, and different places like that, because we have them send us those pictures when they go places. But so many people, when they first retire, Mark, they don't have that budget and they don't want to spend anything. Now, you may be sitting there, and I know it's close to Christmas when you're listening to this. You may be sitting there and saying, we just retired and we've got all our money in the stock market, so we don't have that solid income for the rest of our life set aside. So you might not say it that way, but that's what you're really thinking in the back.
Right.
And so what you do is you say, we can't spend any money on gifts. Or you might be saying, we spend too much money on gifts. You see, everything hinges in retirement when it comes to the financial side, everything hinges on you having a solid financial plan. And that solid financial plan allows you, when you're 65 years old, to go to Rome, to go see the Taj Mahal, to go do those things on your bucket list, because you're not worried, if you have a solid financial plan, that you're going to run out of income when you get to 85.
Yeah.
I know. A lady told me one time when she was leaving the office, Mark, she turned around at the door and she said, you know, what I like about the 7 years I've worked with you, Tom, is you've been just as concerned in my 60s, late 60s and early 70s that I'm able to go places and do things, and you've encouraged me to do that, but you're also concerned in the plan we've got, and I know I'm not going to run out of money when I'm 85. So that's what we talk about, a retirement blueprint and financial planning. It's important to have that income plan in place that's going to lock in and say, I know I'm going to have this income for the rest of my life. Is Social Security enough? Probably not. There's usually a gap. Do you have a pension? That works in. Do you have rental income? Yes, you do now, but many people get tired of wrestling with the rental income and the fluctuations of rental income. It doesn't always come in the same amount all the time. So what do? Sometimes people use, a diversity of stocks that are income producing. They use fixed indexed income annuities. And yes, everybody hates annuities, and I agree. When you're 30 and 40, for income, you don't need an annuity, you need a job. Okay?
Yeah.
But when you retire, you don't have the job anymore, and allocating a portion of your retirement lumberyard over into an annuity might give you that budget, and then you can go spend money on Christmas gifts because that's built into your budget. They have scheduled, these people, I can't believe they've done this, Mark. They have scheduled a Christmas every year, right at the end of the year for the rest of your life, okay? and your grandkids are going to be here, your kids are going to be here, all those people on your Christmas list are going to be there every year of your life. Why don't you build a financial plan that allows for that and prepares for that so that you can have the enjoyment of life of still being able to give and still being able to go? It's possible.
Well, you talked about the travel there, Tom. So I'll talk about, since you mentioned travel, but you also mentioned the grandkids. This might be a good time to establish new traditions, right? So if we're talking retirees first Christmas, you're no longer watching the clock, right? So you do have a little more time. I'll kind of combine these. You have a little more time for the family gatherings. You're not rushing to get back anywhere to be back at work on a certain time. And so maybe you do change things up. Maybe this is a great time to build some new traditions for you and the family.
It's like Yogi Berra said one time. He said, nobody goes to that restaurant anymore because it's always too busy.
I know. I love Yogi.
Yeah, I do too.
A nickel ain't worth a dime anymore.
Right, but it's almost been like, you got a few days off for Thanksgiving, you got a few days off for Christmas, so I don't want to travel, Tom, because nobody wants to travel at Christmas because why? Everybody's traveling, okay? But you might be able to go on the 17th or the 16th and spend some extended time. What my wife and I do now, when we travel to the East Coast, that's 5 hours. That's murder sometimes on a plane. When you go to Europe, it's maybe from LA area here, it's 13 hours. And so what we do, if I have a company that's given me a trip to go to Italy or to Spain, or a couple of years ago we went to Portugal with one of the companies that we sell through, and what we did was we spent an extra week over there. If they're going to fly you over there and have you there and then fly you back, you might as well extend that period. Well, if you're going to go somewhere for Christmas, establish a new tradition. Make that travel longer. Go to the area, and if you're going to the Smoky Mountains, take a trip up the Appalachian Trail there and the Blue Ridge Parkway and those kind of things. Extend that trip and actually start enjoying it. And then you really get two for the price of one, because you have the extra lodging, but you don't have the extra travel expense, and you make one trip on your body across the country or across the pond, to Europe, and you've got it done. So you just really need to rethink life, because there are some different things in retirement.
Yeah, I mean, maybe you were going to go to, spend the holidays with family, and they were really hoping you could come 3 or 4 days earlier so you could see your grandkids' first play or something like that. Well, now you could, right? So again, you've got that flexibility in there, and then we'll finish this conversation off, Tom, as far as the retirees' first Christmas with consider that you also now have the time, to give back to your community if you're so inclined, whether it's time or funds. Again, that's something that the blueprint can help you with as far as making sure that you're doing the right things financially. But whatever it is, right? I mean, this could be a great opportunity for that as well.
Great opportunity. The charities sometimes actually, when the stock market is doing well, the economy is doing relatively well, and wages are going up and different things like that. When that happens, a lot of times the people that get left out are the charities. And giving of money is one thing you can do for a charity. The bigger thing that many charities need and want is the giving of time, volunteering. I mean, I've got so many people in our client family who give 4, 5, 6, 7, 10, 15 hours a week, whatever you want to do, sometimes 2 days a week, and they just give it when they're in town, when they're not traveling, and they give back. I mean, most of the time, most of the people that we work with have been so blessed that they don't have to worry about where their next meal is coming from, so they can give money, but they also don't have to worry about working in their 70s and late 70s and early 80s and having a part-time job just to make ends meet. And so they're able to go and volunteer and help. One of the things we do as an organization at Mosley Wealth Management is on a periodic basis, we go on a Friday to a local orphanage type group here where they help kids who've just really been down in life and kids that are from 12 until they're like 23, and we provide lunch for them. And you cannot believe, we take the lunch, we prepare the lunch in their kitchen, we serve the lunch, we clean up the kitchen, and we come, and some of our clients go with us on things like that. And you cannot believe the fulfillment you get and the joy you get from looking at those kids when they get a good, solid meal where maybe they haven't had one in the whole week or, in 3 days or something. I mean, we don't understand, most of us don't understand what that's like. But if you do understand what that's like, and then you're on the giving part to give that back. So that's amazing. I mean, you're able to give back and to see that joy on those people's face and that just, hey, I'm not hungry anymore. I'm able to feed somebody like that. So whether you're talking about a budget for giving gifts and making sure it's right, or travel and extended travel and getting the bucket list done and establishing new traditions, or you're considering giving back, you need to realize if this is your first Christmas, you need more than an ornament. You need a plan. You need a plan for saying, what is different this Christmas because I am retired? You need to think through that. There are financial aspects to it, but there are emotional aspects to it as well.
Well, and you can start on that financial side, well, really, and the emotional side by talking with Tom's team, because they've helped many families retire. And so if it's your first Christmas, or maybe it's going to be next year, whatever the case is, and you need some help, get that complimentary written retirement blueprint rolling today. 855-526-1600. That's 855-526-1600. I still think I'm going to make the retirees' first Christmas ornament, though. I think I'm going to put those up for sale on Amazon. So we'll be back. We'll be back with more after this here on Ease into Retirement, folks. Don't go anywhere. We're back here for the second quarter of Ease into Retirement with Tom Mosley, founder at Mosley Wealth Management, serving you here in Southern California with Tom's team of advisors, ready to help you out in Anaheim and Arcadia, also in Encino, Ontario, and San Diego. So if you need some help, reach out to them. Get on the calendar, 855-526-1600. Of course, if you can hear our voice, they basically can help you, right? So reach out to them, give them a call, and get on the calendar today for a time that works well for you. 855-526-1600. Tom, I like to give you these analogies and let you kind of figure out ways to break these up and give us some fun little, retirement things to kind of go along with it. I'm going to throw you a new one this week. You probably didn't know. I owned a couple of coffee shops for a number of years. So
oh, wow.
I had a little mini chain. I had 3 of them.
Can you make a cappuccino?
I could make a pretty darn mean espresso, cappuccino, macchiato, so on and so forth. Yeah.
Oh, man.
Now, that was many years ago, but I think I can still do it. But I did my own blend. I did my own roasting, whole 9 yards. And so let's go to the retirement barista for a little bit. All right. So I'm going to give you some types of coffee or just ways we take it. And then you give me some financial wisdom. All right.
Yep. Here
He's
goes.
like,
Here
oh,
goes. Yeah, I know.
All right, grab a sip of coffee. Let's rock. Let's see if we can do this.
Okay.
All right. Well, if you just take it, straight up, just straight black. Now, when I met my wife, which by the way, I met her through my coffee shop, she was doing all the fancy stuff. Well, now she just takes it, nice and straight. She's older now, so she just wants just black coffee. What does that say about the retiree?
No frills, man. They just want it just the way it is. I mean, that person wants something that's predictable. They want something that's conservative. Usually, if they want the no thrills and the least exciting mix of investments they can have, the better. They want to know everything about it, just enough to get the job done and nothing more. And that's good, but it's not very exciting. And I don't know, that's probably more coffee drank like that than any other coffee, because
sure. Especially in the military.
Yeah. Well, when we have people come into the office, they like it just straight black. I mean, and as you say, they like it better in the military that way, and stuff, because that's the way they take it. Most of our
or they just don't
clients
have access sometimes, yeah.
Okay, right.
Yeah.
I guess when you're in the battle in the trenches, if they still are in the trenches out there, and stuff, there's just not a lot of creamer around.
That's
okay?
right. You're on deployment, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, but some people are like that with their investments. I mean, you're just plain vanilla. You've got them in the bank. You've got them in a money market, and my dad had stuff like that. And the problem is you're not making enough to stay up with inflation, so there's not very much excitement to it. And it's just pretty plain and thrill. If when the market goes down, you're right where you need to be. But when the market's going up, 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 and remember, the Dow Jones was 6,300 when in March the 9th of 2009, and here we are 16, 17 years later, and the Dow Jones is at 48,000. So it's 8 times bigger than it was, and you haven't made that in a money market with your straight black, no frills coffee.
There you go. Well, all right, you mentioned that, not having access to cream and sugar sometimes. Well, that's the most common approach, right? So we'll roll with the cream and the sugar. Most people, I think, like to do this at least a little bit. What's the breakdown for this investor?
Well, the cream and sugar, I mean, if you get your coffee and you get it straight black, and then you put cream and you put sugar in it, usually you put the same amount of cream, same amount of sugar. I mean, that person hasn't necessarily put a lot of thought into their financial planning over the years.
They got the routine.
They've got the routine,
Gotcha.
Yeah, and they all, like when I go to a restaurant, I'm so bad, Mark. I order the same thing at every restaurant. It can have 1,000 things on the menu, but I order that same, pot stickers and pad thai chicken when I go to the pho place, and stuff. And there's some good stuff about that, because methodically you could be just putting the same amount of money in your 401k for decades, and that
that's
can
probably
result.
It's probably your good savers then, right? People, they're real diligent.
One good thing about it is you don't ever have to have any bad coffee generally. Because why? You've got the coffee and the cream and the sugar kill whatever's bad about the coffee. And so you're just able to do that. And what I mean by that is, if you want to bring that over into the financial, if you're just constant and you just keep doing it in the up times and in the down times, in the good coffee times and in the bad coffee times, you're going to amount a group of money. And generally, the stock market has always gone up. Generally, it has always gone up. No promise for the future. Okay, but you're going to probably be reasonably strong if you're just plain vanilla, straightforward cream and sugar.
All right. Well, we're talking about the retirement barista, having Tom do some analogies here, some investor types based on some coffee shop drinks that you might get. And, of course, if you need some help with your retirement strategy, get that blueprint by calling 855-526-1600. Tom, now we get into some of the fancier stuff. And when I first opened my first coffee shop, we opened it in a town. Actually, it was a military town, and they did not really have any coffee shop at all other than what you get at the gas station. So people would come in and they would read some of the stuff, and they weren't even really sure what it was, or they would think it was going to taste like the stuff at the gas station, which, of course, was mostly just sugar and processed, right? So you'd hear people, eventually they learned though, right? Eventually they learned the lingo, and they wanted a non-fat, sugar-free soy vanilla latte with caramel drizzle, light whip, and a couple stir sticks.
And a partridge in a pear tree.
And so they got to the point where they had their order, right? But then they'd also want to try something, or then they would be like stumped, and it'd be like, oh, now I don't know what I want today, right? So what do you think? What do you think about that kind of thing?
A classic overthinker. Okay.
All right.
They just, okay, I live with a woman that I'm married to, okay? And so when
sure
we
she's
go to
not gonna
that
know
same restaurant that has 1,000 things on it, that I get the same thing, I can look at the menu, and I look at everything every time, not everything, but I scan the menu every time and then go to my favorites. Sometimes it'll be 2 favorites. But my wife, even though that's our most popular restaurant that we go to, it's not the biggest, greatest restaurant in the world, but it's the steady, handy, down the street restaurant.
Right.
She wants to read the whole menu.
You've
and
been
then
here
when
1,000 times, but you want to read
Right.
the menu. Yeah. Okay.
They want to read the menu, and then she wants to get that, but she doesn't want the cheese, but she would like extra onions. And then on the side, she would like the green beans done this way, or, and she goes into this, and I'm really wondering sometimes, what's that waiter thinking? You know what I mean? Or waitress thinking.
Hurry up and make your order, please.
Yeah,
Right.
this person, if we wanted to bring that over into the financial world, that person just makes their financial life too complicated. I mean, they're wanting to go get this specialty deal over here, and I call it chasing shiny objects. Because you're chasing the shiny object where you just want to really get something really special that'll really shine, that'll really be different. And if you get your cup and it's at Starbucks, I mean, they've written all over the cup that non-fat, sugar-free soy vanilla latte with caramel drizzle, light whip with 2 stir sticks. You know what I'm
Nice.
saying?
Good job.
Yeah, they've written it all over the place. See, I listen to what you say.
I
okay?
appreciate that.
And, you don't have to be super famous or super sexy, I would call it, with what you order. You can just order something a little more normal.
Well, we're going to stay in the crazy land for just a second, Tom, and that was a good job, by the way, on that. But with the pink unicorn frappuccino containing about 2 days worth of your recommended sugar intake, I believe it got discontinued because I think Stratford Health Department said it just has way too much sugar in this thing. But this was a Starbucks drink that you could go get. And yes, I know I said Starbucks because I'm not a fan. But anyway, what do you think about this kind of investor?
Too much of a good thing. I mean,
Too much sugar.
Yeah. I could not drink straight black coffee, but I can drink it sometimes if I put enough sugar in it. Not too much, but sometimes people just load it up. I mean, and it's like sometimes people salt their food before they taste it. I mean, it might have already been salted.
Yeah. And 2 days worth of your recommended sugar intake. I think I saw something with Dunkin' as well. Somebody was doing a breakdown on one of theirs, and it was a crazy amount of sugar in one of their drinks. Crazy amount.
Well, the financial analogy to that or parallel to that is getting too enamored with one particular investment or one type of investment. You don't have a diversity. You've got too much company stock. You've been an employer there. You bought too much gold or silver, and you're going to win with that stuff at times, but you're going to lose with every different kind at times too.
Hung up on crypto maybe or whatever.
Yeah, hung up on that, and you're chasing again what's hot. So you got to be careful when you go for those things and then you dump all of the extra stuff in there and you just go one way with it and you go overboard with one stock. I had one client one time who had 2/3 of her money in one company stock. And guess what? Right now it's doing really, really, really well. But the day that it turned, and she wants to stay with it, and she wants to live off of that.
Wow.
2/3 of her investment in one stock. Problem is she's not diversified enough because that stock is not going to always go up.
Makes me think Enron,
Yes, makes you think Enron, Sears, a lot of things like that are real popular. Used to be in the Dow Jones, used to be real popular.
GE, yeah.
And they don't exist sometimes anymore.
Yeah, that's a great point. All right, so I had this guy that used to come in my shop, Tom. Really nice guy, super high energy, and this might have been why. He would come in, he'd hang out for about 30 minutes to an hour, and he'd come in and he'd order 3 shots of espresso, just 3 straight shots in a cup. And then he would sit there, do some stuff. Then he would order a one to go with 5 straight shots of espresso in it. So within the course of an hour, half an hour to an hour, he'd have 8 shots of espresso, which is probably why he was wired.
Right.
But what do you think about this this type of investor?
Well, it's similar to the previous two. When you get into specialty, it's high volatility. I mean, that stock's going to go way up or way down. It could be crypto, like you mentioned earlier.
Right. Yeah.
A lot of people are jumping into the AI stock, and just this week in the Wall Street Journal, I read an article that one main big time investor has moved out of the AI stock because he thinks everything's too inflated, too high.
Yeah. And PE ratios are pretty out there. Yeah.
Yeah, and then sometimes somebody hears about somebody who made a lot of money in options trading, and that's like taking that espresso shot. You're going to need another one pretty soon because that one's not going to work. You know, one thing I would suggest people try to think about, maybe sometimes having it straight black, maybe sometimes having it cream and sugar, maybe sometimes going for the frill, non-fat, sugar-free soy vanilla latte with caramel drizzle, light whip with 2 stir sticks, I think you said, or the pink unicorn frappuccino, I think you said something like that, or the espresso. Maybe use a variety. And when it comes to the financial, you know, we like to make this show something you want to listen to and something fun, but we can't just be all dry numbers and financial all the time. We try to draw some analogies like this.
Yeah, for sure.
And it's hard for, maybe use a variety of things. It's hard for an individual to be an expert on every single investment. Maybe you need a mix. What we do is we take that lumberyard that you piled up in your 401k and your IRA, and we offer to build for you, if you're listening to this program, a variety of things in what we call a blueprint, a Mosley Wealth Management Retirement Blueprint. And in that blueprint, we address income and inflation, investments, taxes, healthcare, and legacy, how you're going to leave it. That's a real retirement plan. That's a variety, and all of those things need to be addressed for you to have a successful retirement. If you want one, I'll tell you what they cost. Absolutely nothing. Just you dialing in, setting an appointment with one of our advisors, coming into one of our offices. We will sit down with you over 1 or 2 or 3 meetings, and we will bill one of those for you for free. And then we decide if we want to work with you. You decide if you want to work with us. If it's a marriage, we go forward. If not, we shake hands. We say, anytime we can help you, we'll be here. We offer that to you for free, just as simply as that.
Well, and it's as simple as calling 855-526-1600. That's 855-526-1600. Tom, I think you did a great job with those analogies there. And while, you know, typically you like to have your coffee order the same each and every time, you certainly don't want that with your retirement portfolio. You need some diversification in there. So make sure you're sitting down with Tom's team of advisors and talking about your retirement blueprint at 855-526-1600. Stick around. There's more to come today here on Ease into Retirement. Time for more of Ease into Retirement with Tom Mosley, founder of Mosley Wealth Management, serving you here in Southern California with his team of advisors helping you get to and through retirement with that complimentary written retirement blueprint. Get on the calendar today at 855-526-1600. That's 855-526-1600. Don't let the holiday season be the reason that you don't pick up the phone. You could still call and schedule time to get onto the calendar. You just got to take that action for yourself. 855-526-1600. Tom, usually we talk about what's going on this week, but what's going on this week?
We've got events going on this week. We have a huge event scheduled for this Thursday, the 25th, called Christmas. And we have another huge event next week on the 31st and 1st called New Year's Eve and New Year's. So no, we don't have any events like Social Security, estate planning, taxes, our retirement masterclass. We don't have any of those. We're giving all of our people a week off, giving you a week off. But I'll guarantee you, if you'll get on our website at mosleywealthmanagement.com, there's a seminars tab on there. I was just on there right before the show here, and you can click on there and you can see we've got events starting the first week of January, cranking back up, and we'll have a full slate of events in January. We'd love to meet you, so get on there. It's not too early to register for one of those to make sure you get a seat.
Yeah, it's mosleywealthmanagement.com. Again, mosleywealthmanagement.com. Click on that seminars tab, and they are off to the races right there at the beginning of the year. So jump on there and RSVP, or you can simply call the number 855-526-1600. All right, Tom, let's talk about our biggest assets and and see
Okay.
what we might have to deal with. And I'm not talking about my brother. If you
Right.
really took inventory of your financial situation, you might find that you maybe take some of these things for granted, Tom. And you've been doing this a long time, right? So kind of think about I think most people think about the three big pieces. So we'll start with the first big three, right? And then you kind of just talk to us about how to, really kind of how does this stuff all work within, pulling it together for, a retirement plan or a retirement strategy.
Sounds good.
What's the biggest one? Is it the 401k? If not, we're going to start there.
You know what? It's a toss-up in Southern California. Let's start with the 401k.
Okay.
I mean, if you've been with your current job for any number of years, your 401k might be your biggest asset. I mean, it's not uncommon for me to see 401ks at 1.2, 1.8. If somebody's been with like a big major company and they've had that 401k for a long, long time, and, many times the problem is people are spending like 45 seconds choosing the funds one time and they never
Right.
choose them again. Let me give you some options on that big chunk of assets that you're covering in your 401k. For most people that come to us, I would say most people, it's one of the two biggest assets. We'll talk about the other one in just a minute.
Okay.
But let's say you've got a big 401k and you really don't know what you're doing. I've told the story on the show before about a guy one time who invested in a BlackRock fund. And BlackRock's not a bad group of funds, but this was a BlackRock fund that just wasn't performing well. And this guy had put like $80,000 of his 401k, all of it into a BlackRock fund that had lost him down to like $32,000.
Ouch. Yeah.
I mean, just within his 401k. So we were looking at it, and that's what financial advisors do because that's our expertise when we look at it. And I asked him, I said, what was your, final factor in choosing this BlackRock fund?
Mm-hmm.
And the guy just came unglued. He got so excited. He said, well, I like to snorkel. And he said, just north of Lahaina on the island of Maui, there's this place called BlackRock. And that's my favorite place to snorkel. So when I saw BlackRock on my 401k, I thought maybe that's a good luck charm and I'll get in there. And I pointed out to the guy he'd lost $48,000 in BlackRock in the past year. And I said, you could have gone and taken your whole family to Hawaii 4 times and snorkeled at BlackRock for what you've lost.
Yeah.
By not making a good decision. He had no idea what he was invested in. Here's another thing in the 401k, target funds. Google the effectiveness of target funds or get on AI and look at that. I'll tell you why. You're going to find out that it's the old traditional, way out of date, put 60% in stock, 40% in bonds, and then move it, or maybe 80-20 or 70-30. It's just a cover for that old philosophy that doesn't really work anymore, financial practice that doesn't really work well anymore consistently the way it did.
Well, to
Used
your
when-
point, Tom, earlier when you said 45 seconds, that's why it happens though, right? Because it's easy for us, especially when you don't know what you're doing. You're like, oh, I'm going to retire 2040. Perfect. That works, right?
I'll change them later. later. That's what you think to yourself. I'll look into these and change them later. Very few people make a calculated decision as to what goes in. Let me give you some options.
Okay.
Our advisors, we're set up at Mosley Wealth Management where we can actually, with your permission, go in and actually manage your 401k within that company plan. I mean, we can professionally break down each of those 20, 30, 50 options that you might have. Sometimes you only have 8 options.
Sure.
We can professionally break those down and manage those to your risk level. Here's another option. If you're 59 and a half and you're still working, most 401ks would allow you to do what's called an in-service distribution. It's one of your biggest assets, and you've given it the least amount of attention, least amount of time. An in-service distribution would allow you to move it over into an IRA where there's many more options. You have some advantages that we can point out at the time for staying in the 401k, but most people see the advantage of moving it over into an IRA if you're 59 and a half and your company does an in-service distribution. And the third thing I would say is, for some of you, we're talking about an old 401k that you used to have at your old company and you just left it there. That also, in a third way, could be moved over into an IRA. So a big asset there. You need to make sure it's working for you and not just, quietly going to pot, quietly not working well for you. You need to put that asset to work for you. It might be the biggest asset you've got.
Yeah. And even if it is working for you, is it working as efficiently and effectively as it could be, right?
Exactly.
So you certainly want to make sure you're taking that into account. Your second one's probably then the house, correct?
You got it. I mean, and there's some questions you need to ask about your house, because so many times, 30 years of experience in doing this and helping people retire, and yes, go all the way to the time where they're not here anymore. But during that time period, that house that when you were 20 and 30, you wanted that house for your kids to grow up in, for you to establish your life there, to live there, and you wanted that house. But so many times in your upper ages, that house becomes a millstone around your neck. You've got to take care of the pool. You've got to take care of the yard.
You've been talking to my wife again, haven't you?
There's maintenance. There's all kind of things. And a big question we ask people when they come in to get their blueprint, and we're going to build a plan for them for the rest of their life, is that the last house you're going to live in?
Yeah.
Is there going to be a downsize or a move to another state? Are you chasing your kids to Minnesota or Texas? Or you want to move to one of the states that doesn't have taxes or income tax? And do you want a smaller house closer to the beach? I mean, I've heard these and 100 other things. So that big, huge asset that you hopefully have paid for when you move into retirement and you don't have the mortgage anymore, still have the taxes and still have insurance, but what are you going to do with that gigantic, intangible, immovable, illiquid object of your house? It might represent the biggest chunk of what you've got in the way of assets, but you can't spend it for retirement. And so what are you going to do with it? Some people are bringing up, should I get a reverse mortgage? Well, I do want to tell you that reverse mortgages are better than they used to be, but it's still not a solve-all for all the plans for income. So you need to talk this through before you jump into something with a financial advisor. 401k, house, biggest assets that you've got.
Yeah, for sure. And make that joke there. My pool's been driving me nuts this year, so it's on my list of things that was just irking me something fierce.
Good.
So the third leg of the proverbial milking stool then, Tom, you got this three-legged stool you're sitting on, 401k, house, and then Social Security.
Yeah, Social Security. I mean, we want to, I don't know why so many people are critical of Social Security. Maybe they're fearful it will go away, and nobody's saying it will go away. They're saying that unless Congress changes the rules by 2033, 2034, it's going to go down 76 to 79% of the payout. So you might lose 20 to 25% of the payout. Okay, but if you're getting $4,000 a month, you're getting $48,000 a year from Social Security. Let's talk about what kind of asset you would have to have if you followed the 4% rule. Now, what's the 4% rule? It, again, is an archaic rule that most financial advisors that are out there still use. We don't, but most people still use it, that if you've got $1.2 million, you can take out 4% a year, and you'll have like a 90% chance of never running out of money. You say, what? Yeah. If you've got $1.2 million, all you can take out of it is 4% a year to give yourself some degree of certainty that you're not going to run out of money. It's called the Monte Carlo model. Now, $48,000 a year coming from Social Security, then I could say, and you could see, that's equivalent to having a $1.2 million, bounty stashed away that you're drawing 4% on every year. So don't knock Social Security. Let's elect some people who are going to do something about Social Security. Let's encourage people to get something done so they don't reduce the benefit that we've paid into for years on Social Security. Because, again, for many of you, I could argue that your benefit from Social Security is equivalent to the illiquid benefit you have in the asset of your house, and it's probably equivalent to the assets you have in your 401k. So I would say this is a three-headed monster that you really need to get straight. These are your biggest assets. If you're still working, you've got that potential for future savings. if you're out there and you don't know what you have, you say, I don't have a 401k, but I got all these little accounts. One of the biggest things we do for people and the most helpful things we do when we build a retirement blueprint, and remember, you can decide through that process. We build it to you, give it to you, and you decide if you want to work with us or not. When we build that, one of the things we do is we consolidate and we look at everything we've got. We get it on a sheet of paper. And people have told us so many times, one of the biggest end results of us building a retirement blueprint for them is they got all their stuff organized and they got it together, okay? All those other little things. So the 401k, the house, and Social Security, and those other things are really important, but those are the big three. You need to make sure those are in the right place, working for you, going to do what you want them done in the future.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's why it's so important to talk with financial professionals who do this day in and day out, like Tom's team of advisors at Mosley Wealth Management. So reach out to them, get yourself some time onto the calendar that's convenient for you, that they'll set you up for the location of your choice, as well as a time that works well for you. But you got to make that call first, 855-526-1600. So much they can do for you, but none of it if they don't get the chance to know you. So reach out, give them a call, 855-526-1600. Again, 855-526-1600. This is Ease Into Retirement, and there's more to come right after this. Cruising down the home stretch this week here on Ease Into Retirement with Mr. Mosley, Tom Mosley, founder at Mosley Wealth Management, serving you here in Southern California with his team of advisors and amazing support staff waiting to help you with your retirement experience. So get onto the calendar today for a consultation and a conversation at 855-526-1600. That's 855-526-1600 to get started today. You know, Tom, before we jump into the email questions, I forgot to ask you, what's the progress on the book, on the Ease Into Retirement book?
Hey, you know what? I'm so frustrated with that. I mean,
Oh, no.
Yeah, the publish, it's available in a digital model on Amazon. It's called Ease Into Retirement by Tom Mosley, Mosley. You can draw it down on Amazon. We're going to pass out to anybody who sends it. If you'll call in, you'll send in your name and address, we'll mail you a hard copy of it. And it is a hardback book and a hard copy book when we get it. And so we've been told now it's probably going to be the first few weeks of January when we do get it. But I don't want to promise anybody. I'm just saying we've been told we'll get it at that point. So
publisher's a little behind, huh?
Oh, well, yeah. And I guess that anymore, a lot of people do digital, but I'll tell you, people our age want to have that hardback to read, and because when you read at night to go to sleep, and you can only read 2 or 3 pages sometimes, and
I think it's easier on the eyes too. I really do.
Oh,
but
yeah, I do too.
Yeah.
Let me say something.
Yeah.
You introduced this segment by talking about our advisors, and I just want to give a kudo to the 10 advisors we have. We're adding 3 more advisors right now because we have that much opportunity to help people all over Southern California. And everybody we hire by license, not one of these guys who's a broker and they're not really a fiduciary who's required to act in your best interest and do what's best for you all the time. When our guys are fiduciaries by law, by license, and so that means we are required to do what's best for you. We sit on the same side of the table with you. It's different than a broker. A broker, if I pulled on to a Ford car lot and I pulled on and I said, I'm really thinking about buying a Toyota Tacoma pickup. What do you guys think? What would that salesman tell me? that salesman would say, no, man, have you looked at the F-150?
Yeah.
And whether you're an F-150 guy or a Tacoma girl or whatever you want, you can't expect the Ford place to sell you anything but Fords. And that's the way brokers do sometimes when you go to the big brokerage house. They say, here's what your fees are, and this is what we're going to sell you. And when they sell you those mutual funds, they sell you those different funds, and they're all named the same name as the company that you're working with. They're making not only money off of your fees, but they're making a ton of money off of those things that they're selling you as well, okay? And it's hidden in the prospectus. So when you sit down with one of our advisors, we start with a blank piece of paper, okay? And because every one of you that are listening to this show, you're completely different than anybody else. And we don't have a cookie cutter where we're over here filing our nails or thinking about something else while you're spilling your guts about where you're at financially, and then we pull out the same program for everybody. We don't do that. We start with a blank piece of paper, every one of our advisors, all 5 of our physical offices and over Zoom, and we will build you your personal retirement blueprint. And we'll be able to help you with the biggest question many of you have. Can we retire? Can we afford to retire? We don't know till we'll build you a blueprint. And we will build that blueprint because we're concerned not only that you have money when you retire, but that you have money when you're 85 and 90 years old. And that's what we mean with a financial retirement blueprint, with a Mosley Wealth Management retirement blueprint. We will build that for you. Our advisors are phenomenal. You need to come in and meet with one of them.
855-526-1600. Again, kudos and shout out to Tom's team. 855-526-1600. All right, Tom, let's see if we can take a couple email questions here this week before we bounce out of here. In the Diamond Bar area, we got Elise. She says, Tom, my company just went through a merger, so my benefits are being changed, including setting up a different 401k on a new platform. What does this mean for my old 401k?
Well, it means a lot more than just your 401k, Elise. A lot of people are going through mergers with their companies, and the sad thing is they're in the last 5, 6, 7 years of their career, and they're planning on topping off and really saving, and the company changes, the ownership changes, the merger changes, and all kind of things happen. Sometimes a 401k is just one problem that you might run into, because I've had people who've come in and they say, Tom, I just need to retire. And I say, now, why are we moving this up if they're a current client? And they say, well, I was planning on retiring in 5 years, but now I'm just 3 years into working with you, and I need to retire 2 years early because the company's changed. We went through a merger or a buyout, and I don't like the boss. I don't like the company. I don't like the people I'm working with. They've gotten rid of all my friends. And, there may be more than the 401k. But you may have the opportunity to take advantage of what we talked about in an earlier segment, and that is move that 401k. You can move it to a new 401k with the new job and with the new plan with the merged company, or you might be able to move that out to an IRA where you have many more options. You say, well, which one is my option? I don't know. That's where you'd have to come in, meet with us, and we look at it, maybe make a call to your HR, make sure we ask the right questions that you might not know to ask just because we've been through that. We've been down that road before, and we can tell you what your options are. What you need to know right now is that you're probably not forced into anything, but you do have options. But the people who are going to be advantaged by you just moving that into a different 401k on a new platform, they might not tell you you have these other options that might be more beneficial for you.
Great question, Elise. Thank you so much. The team's going to reach out to you. But if you're in a similar situation, you need some help, make sure that you are, talking with qualified professionals like the team at Mosley Wealth Management about these types of situations and getting some advice for your unique situation. 855-526-1600. All right, let's see if we can help Larry out in Westlake Village. He says, Tom, how do I convince my wife that now is the time to start taking out Social Security? She wants to hold off until I'm 70, but I'd like to get my share now at 63 and save it for the rainy day in my own accounts. Interesting.
Yeah, it sounds like a normal thought process for a lot of people who don't know some of the hidden, intricate rules of Social Security. If you're still working, Larry, and you turn 62 and you start taking your Social Security, you can only make $23,000, $24,000 a year. Otherwise, every $2 over that, you pay back $1 of Social Security. You say, what? Are you crazy? No, that's called the earnings test. They'll put you through an earnings test. So your wife may be right simply for something that maybe neither one of you know about, and that's the earnings test, that until you reach full retirement age, at full retirement age, 66, 67, you can make whatever you want. But up until full retirement age, even after 62, you can only make $23,000, $24,000. The number's going to change in 2026 from $23,400 in 2025. So you need to make sure that it's the right time for you. So she may be right, and she may be thinking that if she knows about the breadwinner rule. The breadwinner rule, if you're going to be the largest Social Security earner, Larry, in the family, when there's only one of you left, and chances are if you're the same age, that's going to be your wife. When there's only one of you left, her Social Security would go away in that scenario, and yours would stay, Larry. So that might be a motivation while you're still working, even after full retirement age, to let your Social Security continue to grow so that breadwinner stays and the lower Social Security in a marriage goes away once one of the spouses is deceased and passes away.
Yeah, I mean, I think people think about this a lot, Tom, and I notice he says, save it in my own accounts, but, there's things to take into account there, right? I mean, it grows about 6% from 62 to 67 roughly in there, and then up 8% right up to 70.
Yes.
And I mean, it's a pretty, I guess you could say what you will about the government, but at least it's a pretty good return, right? Versus what you might, the risk that you're not taking in the market, I suppose.
Social Security and Medicare are pretty good deals. I hope they don't change them. You know what I'm saying?
So great questions.
So Larry, let me go into a little bit a different list of things maybe you need to think about if you're going to either retire, and you say, well, I'll go ahead and retire and start taking the Social Security. Let's say you're 62 years old. Then you've got to bridge yourself from 62 to 65 on your medical coverage.
Great point. Yep.
And you've got to bridge them on your wife's medical coverage as well. If you're 62, you're going to take about a 30% haircut just from your full retirement age on your Social Security. And if you waited till 70, like your wife is encouraging you to do, it would grow 24% more than your full retirement age. So you could actually double your Social Security payout from 62 to 70 by waiting.
Well, great show as always here on Ease Into Retirement with Tom Mosley, founder at Mosley Wealth Management. If you got some questions, need some help, again, reach out. Get started today with that complimentary written retirement blueprint with Tom's team of advisors and amazing support staff serving you all around the Southern California area. They've got the offices in Anaheim, Arcadia, Encino, Ontario, and San Diego. And of course, they can meet you online on Zoom as well. So just call the number, get started, take some action for yourself at 855-526-1600. That's 855-526-1600, or find them online at mosleywealthmanagement.com. That's mosleywealthmanagement.com. But the easiest, fastest way is just to call the number 855-526-1600 to get started today. And we appreciate your time here on Ease Into Retirement with the one and only Tom Mosley, founder at Mosley Wealth Management.
Mosley Wealth Management is an independent financial services firm that utilizes a variety of investment and insurance products. Investment advisory services offered by duly registered individuals through Mosley Wealth Management, Inc., MWM. Mosley Insurance and Financial Services are affiliated companies by common ownership. License number 0K76766. Investing involves risk, including the potential loss of principal, and any references to protection, safety, or lifetime income generally refer to fixed insurance products, never securities or investments. Insurance guarantees are backed by the financial strength and claims-paying abilities of the issuing carrier. This radio show is intended for informational purposes only. It is not intended to be used as the sole basis for financial decisions, nor should it be construed as advice designed to meet the particular needs of an individual situation. Mosley Wealth Management, Inc. is not permitted to offer, and no statement made during this show shall constitute tax or legal advice. Our firm is not affiliated with or endorsed by the U.S. government or any governmental agency. The information and opinions contained herein, provided by third parties, have been obtained from sources believed to be reliable, but accuracy and completeness cannot be guaranteed by Mosley Wealth Management. This radio show is a paid placement.